It's a great, great day. It's a good day.
Welcome back, risers and thrivers. We are so happy to have you here with us on the Rise Today Inspirational podcast. And we are so happy to welcome Amy Feinberg with us. Today, Amy, you're just going to be amazed by her story, everyone. Amy is going to open up on her struggles about overcoming her lifelong struggles with weight management and tell us the magic behind how she has managed to lose over 150 pounds. Amy has been featured on Dr. Oz. She is a very successful author and speaker, and she is very passionate about helping you, our audience, attain success in a lifelong relationship, a healthy relationship with food. So welcome to the show, Amy. We are so happy to have you here with us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Erica. I am really excited to be here. I'm just thrilled that you'd include me, and I can't wait to talk with you about this.
Amy, yes, please take us back. So take us back through, your early struggles with weight management, when you realized it was really starting, how this impacted you.
So I have been overweight up until a few years ago, my entire life, from my earliest childhood memories right on through. So from being a child in school to being a teenager, from being a young adult, a full adult, a mom, a middle-aged person, every one of those chapters of my life, I was very overweight. And when I say very overweight, I stopped weighing myself at 311 pounds. I'm sure I gained more than that. That's when I stopped checking.
Wow. And as a child, even, what were the feelings inside you in that time with facing this struggle?
Well,
how did it impact you, Amy?
As soon as I went to school, I was different. I was not only the fattest kid, but I was also the tallest kid. As an adult, I'm 5'11", and I grew pretty tall pretty early in my life. It wasn't until I think I entered high school that the boys started to catch up with me. I was always the line leader because I was the tallest child in class. But besides being the tallest, I was also the heaviest, and very heavy. It was a burden for me my whole life. And, in my book, I was able to recount some of the memories, and that included fat camp. And I have, whenever you like, I have a little couple paragraphs to share about that from my book, about how I learned that I was going to go to fat camp. Because I was so not fitting in. And I think I know.
Amy, I can't hear you. I'm not sure what's happened. I think you're back. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happened. I've never had that little glitch before. I'm terrible with technology. Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
That's okay. I don't know if
I'll back up just a little in case it was lost, but
thank you.
Sure. But at age 10, I was so overweight that my parents decided I needed to go away to a fat camp for the summer to lose weight. And that was one of my earliest traumatic memories around my weight, because it felt like a punishment. I was sent to a place where I didn't know anybody for the reason that I was fat. And the message I got in my head was, we don't like you this way. We want you to be skinny, and you can come back when you're skinny. And that was just a microcosm of what went on in my life and in my head around food. You're not good like this. Try to lose weight. Losing weight would be a failure. I'd gain it all back and then some. My head would get going and stay going with really bad negative self-talk, things that I would never even dream of saying to someone else. I would say to myself all the time, you're a loser, you're fat and ugly, you can't do it. Anything that anyone said unkind to me, I internalized and I put it on the greatest hits of my soundtrack and played it constantly in my head. And on the inside, I'm a very sensitive, kind person and would never even think to say these things to someone else. And it wasn't until I started to really heal that I realized how damaging, how consistent, and how harmful that behavior in particular really was.
And that negative self-talk, gosh, that's so powerful, right? And that drives our addictions oftentimes. And as we were just talking about in our last show, right, we're often trying to fill this sense of void or the sense of not being accepted, right? And this lack of self-worth. And so you're trying to fill that, whether it was, in our last conversation with Uni, how she's trying to fill that with social connections, or in this sense, whether we're trying to fill that with food. And I could only imagine that ongoing struggle and how difficult this must have been. And so how was your confidence in this time in terms of making social connections and fitting in at school?
I have a really nice class of people, and I'm still friends with many of them today. But the thing that, I wasn't dating. If I liked a boy, kids made fun of him because, he attracted me. It wasn't the traditional childhood. However, my friends, the close-knit group of friends I did have were great. And I was really fortunate to have them in my life for sure. But I often felt like the bigger I got on the outside, the smaller I became on the inside.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so take us through. So you're facing these struggles into life, into adulthood even, and you're still facing all this negative talk and this negative chatter. What was it, Amy, that finally interrupted that internal dialogue? And what was it that changed that internal dialogue for you?
Yeah, this is the moment where, if my life is 3 acts, act 1 is everything that happened up to this point where things pivoted for me. Act 2 is the pivot, and Act 3 is what's happened after, since then. So my dad lived to be 91 years old, and he took a fall. And for many of you who know an elderly person, taking a fall can really spell the end of their life, unfortunately. He actually made it through the surgery to repair his broken hip and femur, but he wasn't healing the way I think that he wanted to. He was a dentist his whole life. He was a wonderful clinician, very smart man. And I think he knew that he wasn't going to come out the other side of it the way he wanted to. So he made it through the surgery. And the week after, he very covertly asked to see each of us privately in a very unofficial way, and had a conversation with each of us about what he thought our biggest challenge was in life. And at the time, he talked to me about what he thought my biggest challenge was, which was worrying. And I remember him saying, if I could take every little worry like a string and just pluck it from your head, I would give you the rest of a life worry-free. Because when you worry, you're not living. And that was really meaningful to me. Beyond that, my son, Levi, was 13 years old at the time. And he said to me, can you bring Levi up to the hospital? I really want to talk to him. And I said, sure. He said, when I'm having a good day, bring him up. So I brought my son, picked him up from school and brought him to the hospital. And he walked in the hospital room, and my dad said, sit here beside me on the bed. I want to talk to you. And he gave him the secret handshake, which I thought for 91 years old was like amazing. How did he even know? Yeah. And my son perched on the side of the bed, and he said, Levi, I don't know that I'm going to be here to see who you turn out to be, but I know it's going to be amazing. I know you're going to be really special. You have gifts in this world, and I don't know that I'll be here, but I want you to know that I'll know. And he said, I want to tell you one more thing, because all life comes down to this. You got to make the life you want and be happy. And Erica, I can tell you, it's giving me goosebumps even now, that even though those words were for him, the top of my skull figuratively blew off my head, because it struck me as a grounding rod of truth. Because to me, it is as hard and as easy as that.
Yes.
Make the life you want. Be happy.
We only get one shot, right?
And it is in our control. So this whole feeling of me being out of control with food and not living lined up with my alignment, because who I was on the outside, if we're all meat suits, if we're souls with meat suits, the meat suit I was wearing did not line up with my soul. So make the life you want, be happy, to me was the beautiful grand golden door that opened up for my future. He passed away a couple days past that in another amazing way, which is another story. But in that moment, because it was such a grounding rod for me, those words have guided me to this new lifestyle, and they're really my touchstone for everything I want to do in life. And as crazy as it sounds, it works for everything. You know, if I'm thinking about a different job or a career shift or writing the book, or does this line up with make the life you want, be happy? It's like my ultimate litmus test. So beautiful. It's amazing to me that his last words would form this, you know, the rest of my life, but they have.
And so your dad's impact, right, in his last few days created this wake-up call almost this awakening, right, for you to really choose to live out, because it is a choice, you're right, live out your greatest potential with the gift of today and maximize that in every way. And did you find this sense of acceptance from within at that moment?
That grew. What that became to me, excuse me, was sort of my battle call. You know, I didn't know how to lose weight. If I had known, I wouldn't have gotten up to be as heavy as I was.
Yeah.
But what I realized, and also the other thing I just want to say straight up for anybody who might be watching this, who's dealing with a problem like this, a lot of people tell you, oh, you just have to love yourself. You just have to love yourself. Well, I was at such odds with that 300 plus pound person inside or outside of me that I had created with my actions and my choices and my, you know, this keeping my hand over my eyes and I don't see anything, I don't hear anything, that I was at such odds with that person that I couldn't love her in that moment. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the Michael Jackson Billie Jean video when he's doing that beautiful dance and every time he takes a step, the tile that his foot touches lights up?
Beautiful.
And I'm seeing this now in hindsight, but the reason I want to share that analogy with you is because I didn't have self-love at the start of my journey. I didn't have an exact plan. I didn't know exactly what to do. I couldn't honestly see the end of that journey, the end of the dance, if it were the Michael Jackson video. Yeah. But all I had to do was take the next right step, the next right choice. And sometimes those choices are moment by moment, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. But that's the only piece you really need. And what I did was I approached that with patience. Patience to give myself time to be curious about what can I find that might work for me? Who can I talk with that can help me learn about nutrition? Who can help me to start to move every day so that I can start to take the pain out of my body and strengthen my body? Patience. Patience was so key. Rather than, bludgeoning myself over the head with all the negative self-talk, I said, okay, if I'm going to make the life I want and be happy, I'm going to have to figure out what to do step by step. And I think I can figure it out. I just need to be patient.
You've touched on so many points here, and I just want to pause so our viewers can really just absorb some of this, right? Because you talked a lot on, taking your focus point off that end goal and bringing it back. I talk a lot about the power of now, right here, right now. How can we make today better? And you talked about bringing it back to that one choice that's right in front of us. Every day, we each face 3,600 choices. I think on Google estimates it's 3,600 decisions we make every day, right? Every one of those decisions has a consequence, whether it's a positive or negative consequence that impacts us, right? And bringing it back down to the power of that, of now, right? And in that choice, rather than taking this huge pressure off this end game, but just breaking it down into choice by choice by choice. What is the choice that best serves me? I think that's just a brilliant example. And you talked a lot about this patience, right? And saying, I'm gifting myself this patience that this is going to take time. I am not focused on the destination. I am focused on the journey and in my transformation in each one of these choices. I think those are really powerful moments that help us make these lasting transformations, right? That we can actually lose this weight or whatever we're navigating and actually use that to stay the course lifelong. So I think those are really important tokens, tips to take away, right? And I just wanted to really hone in on and reflect on that. And the third point that you also talk a lot about even in these first little bits of telling us about your journey, is taking this proactive role. I didn't know where to start, you said, right? I knew I needed to recruit my tribe of experts or whoever could help support me in that, whoever knew best as to help guide me on this journey. And so you really took that effort of being really, really proactive on that journey. And I really admire that. So come from a sense of compassion, right? Choose that focus point to the moment of now. Enjoy that journey, not the destination point. It was very similar to me with cancer, right? Because when I was in those early days, so overwhelmed, right? Just with the grandiose nature of everything that I was facing, and really taking my point off that future, right? And bringing it way back down to today. How can I maximize my day today? How can I take back control in the areas that I can take control of over today? I can choose to fuel my mind. I can choose to fuel my body in certain ways, right? And it takes the emphasis off that destination. And then you get your control back and your power back, and you feel more empowered. And so I think this is all just really, really amazing tools that you're sharing. We've got a question coming in from our audience member. Any ideas about how I can find people who will be healthy and supportive? Some people are very negative, and that's an important topic. Thank you, because you were just talking, and I interrupted you as you were just starting to go down the path of, I've created my tribe, right? I'm looking for these experts. And it's also in those who support us. And so tell me about creating this tribe of supports for yourself. How did you go about doing this?
I learned a statistic lately that said we are the sum total of the 5 people we spend most of our time with. And that was really eye-opening to me because, and I think it's probably true. When I know it's true for me that when I surround myself with people who are great coaches that are challenging me in the most positive ways and are supporting me in the most positive ways and hold up sort of an honest mirror and, are cheerleading for me and supporting me in my own cheerleading, which is something I really needed to do, that was key for me. So to answer your viewer's question, I would say, it may not be the people who are currently around you right now, and that's okay. They'll come along. They'll come around. When they realize that you're lifting the tide that will even lift their ship, you'll start to see shifts with those people, or they'll drop off because maybe they can't right now allow themselves to see that sort of success. But that's about them and not about you.
Yeah, big point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I would say that you may find people like you. Like I made dear friends, probably lifelong friends with the woman that ended up teaching me Pilates, because when you're really overweight, you can hurt yourself jumping into an exercise program without knowing how to move. How much weight should I start with? How am I going to first of all, how am I going to get the pain out of my body? Because I was really painful not being active. And how am I going to strengthen it in a way that doesn't like pull a muscle? And now I'm discouraged and I'm hurt and I'm, the self-talk starts that I can't do it. It's not for me. I'm too fat. I'm too far gone. I'm too this, I'm too that. So you may find people in the new situations you find yourself in as you take the first step. And I would just encourage you that's all you have to honestly think about is the next choice. If each of us, I don't know if it would be a good thing or a bad thing if we all knew what our path was. I kind of like the mystery. I like the question mark. I like the possibility. I like all the wonder that the what if holds, and that I have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And choosing our tribe, right? And choosing those supports. And our viewer asked, what do I do if my support system are negative, right? And I don't know, I would also really suggest to voice your voice and have that strong voice. This is my mission. I'm on this mission to conquer XYZ, whatever it is, right? For me to conquer cancer, for someone else to overcome weight management. This is my mission and I'm really passionate about it. I would appreciate your support, right? And if that's not in alignment at that time, it's okay to step away from that until your mission is conquered, right? And for me, there were so many people on my journey who came out of the woodwork and supported me so much during my illness. And then maybe they're not there as much during my success, right? And there's just people that kind of come and go in our phase. And sometimes we take it personally, but we really just have to own that this is our time and we really have to maximize what we need to do, right? And have that strong voice. I think that's really, really important.
Totally. And you may not know the people that are going to have the biggest impact on your success. You may not have met them yet, but as you start taking the steps, you will.
And I would say saturate yourself, right, with those successful people. Like find an inspirational role model who has achieved, like Amy, right, who has achieved. This is exactly why I do this show, is to bring these inspirational role models to you. And thank you for being here, Natalie. And we're so happy to have you here. I am really passionate about this, right? Like in terms of creating this support systems for us, like seek out those people, seek out your inspirational role models. I know when I was on my journey, one of my medications had wiped out my nervous system, like just wiped it out. I was actually in a walker for a period of time. I would fall all the time. I wouldn't be able to get myself back up. And about 3 months after this had set in, I had a big speech I had to do on stage. And I just desperately wanted to walk across the stage without falling. This was my goal. And so I was offered to do rehab at the hospital, but I didn't feel as though I was saturated in my community, right? It was in this community downstairs in the hospital. It was dark. It was not really empowering, right? And there were a lot of seniors in this building. And I just didn't feel as though I was my best self, right? And so I, believe it or not, went and trained at this athlete rehab center. I saw it training from a personal trainer there. And it was the Toronto Raptors even came to Vancouver and trained at this facility, right? But I looked at all of these people with such success, having their strength, right? And really growing that strength in that environment. And that is where I went to train, as weak as I physically was, not wanting to play in the NBA basketball, but just wanting to walk across a stage, but saturating yourself with these inspirational role models.
Wow.
Right? It's a really powerful force on our journey, you know? And like Amy said, we become most like those 5 most people that we spend the most time with. So choose those people wisely. Choose your plot in your story. Choose your characters and choose your most vibrant of colors every step of the way. Amy, these are excellent, excellent tools. And so tell us, you're making choice by choice. And I bet there were many times that choice by choice, making that best choice wasn't the easiest choice. So how did you stay rooted in your commitment and in your dedication to do so?
The critical piece to my success is having my why. And
Yes.
my why is make the life you want, be happy. Screw ups will happen. Straight out, flat out, totally normal, totally okay. You know, but I want to digress for just 1 second, talk about a different way to think about things. So a friend of mine was that I've been talking with about her weight loss contacted me a couple days after New Year's and said, oh, I went out on New Year's Eve. I ordered surf and turf and I had like potatoes au gratin with cheese sauce and I had a few drinks and I had cheesecake for dessert. She's trying to lose weight. She said, you know, I overate and I felt terrible. I was so mad at myself. The next day, as soon as the gym opened, I went in and I gave myself a punishment workout. And I said to her, I'm going to offer you a different way to think about this that I want you to think about for next time, because this is all how we punish ourselves around food. Did you enjoy that meal? I know you ate a little bit too much. You know, you said you overate. And oftentimes also when we're eating, we can't go back to the same quantity of food that we used to eat, especially if it's rich. So you overdid it a little bit. It's a holiday. Did you otherwise enjoy the food? She's like, yeah, it was great. It was an expensive meal and I was with my husband and otherwise it was great, but I just felt terrible about what I did. I said, okay. And do you normally also usually enjoy working out? She's like, yeah, I look forward to working out. I said, okay. So you took 2 things that you otherwise love, going out to eat and having a nice meal with your husband and going to the gym and having a nice workout, and you twisted them to be punishment. That's the kind of thing we have to stop right away, because that will cause us to then be upset with ourselves, make a next bad choice and maybe another bad choice and another bad choice. And then the tape starts playing. I knew I couldn't do this. I knew this wouldn't work. I knew this isn't for me. Na, 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 na. When all we have to do is reconnect with our why. What's the real reason I'm doing this? Oh yeah. I want to feel happy and I want to live a life full of purpose and passion. And I want to show up fully for everything that's in front of me in my life. Beautiful. And when I'm feeling really overweight and uncomfortable in my body, I'm not able to do that. So when you check back in with that why and you make the next right choice, you completely right the ship. So if I go out somewhere and I eat a little something too much, I'd be like, wow, I totally enjoyed that. I'm not going to do it again,
Yeah.
but I totally enjoyed it. And I try to let myself, not think back on the thing that I really enjoyed as a source of failure for myself.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge right there. And it's taking away that sense of guilt that is associated with food. Because once we take away that guilt, there's magic in that, right? And focusing on that moment of pleasure, right? And that self-compassion that you were talking about from the get-go. And it's okay, right? But it doesn't have to be the next choice and the next choice. The next choices can be different, right? And staying with that message of congruency. And so that notion of self-compassion is really, really important there. I think that's a phenomenal message.
Great.
And so tell us, you had this vision to live out your best life and you've lost 150 pounds. So tell us, this is like a phenomenal feat in itself. You speak on stages about this. You've been on the Dr. Oz show. You have a powerful book for all of our listeners. It's called Food, Eat with Ease Every Day. Make the life you want. Be happy. You've attained all of these amazing successes and you're here to serve and pay forward and contribute all of your successes to us and so that we can learn from you. And I'm so inspired by this, Amy. And tell us the difference in how Amy feels about herself, about her world around her, about everything compared to Amy's previous life.
180-degree difference. I feel what happened on the course of my journey, Erica, was I did develop self-love. And the self-love came from patience, making the next right choice, having a little bit of a success, and starting to replace the negative tapes with, wow, this doesn't have to be this way. You're patient, you took a step, you made the right choice. Good job.
Patient. Celebrating your wins.
Yes, and they're little wins. And it wasn't anything I could fake and throw together. And I also don't think I could have conjured it.
Yeah.
I had to create it in myself. And that's why the word ease is so meaningful to me, because everything around food before that was the opposite of ease. I was in combat with food, you have to eat, but I couldn't figure it out. And I was otherwise successful in my life. And I was just mortified at what I had become. So different from who I wanted to be and who I felt I was on the inside. So what this really means to me is I can show up. I can be here today. I feel called to help other people. And the biggest thing I want to do is just help people focus on creating ease around this whole thing so that there's peace around food and help people just be joyful and purposeful around their lives.
I just love this. And one of the biggest takeaways that I'm hearing from you is this idea again of self-compassion, but also this awareness, right? You've developed through this, maybe it was this wake-up call with your dad, who knows what it really was, but you really developed this sense of awareness in reflecting on that self-thought or the self-talk, right? And that negative dialogue. And you hear it. You probably still do because it's habitual, right? From time to time, but you can interrupt that dialogue through awareness, through this new self-talk, right? And through this sense of compassion. And I think that's the beautiful part, right? Because we're all going to go back to these survival mechanisms that we've all adopted for whatever reasons, right? And that's all going to creep back in as we're trying to adhere and stay the course on our new commitments, right? And we are going to have these little moments where this guilt creeps back in, but through this awareness, right, and this compassion, that's how we can truly stay the course. This is magic, Amy. I love this. So how can our viewers reach out to you if they are looking for support on their weight loss journey, maybe some tips, some tools, if they're struggling staying the course and being committed to their true values, if they're looking for creating their best tribe, how can they find you to help guide them?
I'm just going to give them my email. The best way they can contact me is through my email, and they can send me off a little message, a question, and I'll be happy to answer the best I can. It's amylikes2dance@gmail.com, all spelled out. AMYLIKESTODANCE@gmail.com. And yes, I do like to dance.
I love that. And great part in weight management as well. How wonderful. Amy, are there some lasting words of wisdom that you can share with our audience today?
If I would just say to that person who's watching, I know how it feels to have the longing that you want to know how to do it, you want to get there, and you want to have a success story yourself. And I just want you to think about creating space around that it's something you can do, and encourage you to be patient with yourself and just take the next right step. You can do
Bring
it.
it back down to one choice at a time, my friends. Thank you for being here with us today, Amy. It's been a true honor to have you on the show.
What a pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's gonna be a good day.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Take this inspiration forward. Learn more at risetoday.com/podcast. And please do help us in our mission to spread hope, inspiration, and positivity by encouraging those in your circle to join us and to tune in for our next show of inspiration coming soon. Please contact us if you have a powerful story to share with us to inspire the world. Until next time, get out there and rise today.